Have you ever wondered how a big, new idea for improving schools actually makes it into the classroom? It's not a straight line. It's more like a winding road, and it's full of twists and turns. So today, we're going to map out that entire life cycle of an education policy, from just a spark of an idea all the way to its impact in the real world.
I mean, this is the big question, right? We see so many promising ideas for education reform. Some of them totally take off and change the game for students. But then others, well, they just seem to fizzle out. The secret to understanding why that happens is in the journey itself. And the tool we're going to use to understand that journey is called policy analysis.
Okay, so policy analysis isn't just about having an opinion on what should happen in schools. Not at all. It's a systematic way to kind of pop the hood on a policy, look at all the moving parts, and really figure out its strengths, its weaknesses, and what it actually does. It's how we cut through the noise and see what's really going on. This whole framework basically helps us ask 4 key questions. First, what's the problem this policy is actually trying to solve? Second, what tools is it using to fix it? Third, how does it get put into practice in real schools? And finally, what happened? What were the results? This is our roadmap for the whole journey. So, every policy starts with a blueprint, a plan. This is the design phase, and this is where these grand, perfect ideas meet the messy, complicated real world. In that clash, that's where the first big challenge of any policy's life really begins. In a perfect world, right? Every single policy would be made using what's called the rational model. This is the gold standard. It's a completely logical, evidence-based process. The whole point is to find the single best solution to a problem, with no politics or bias getting in the way. And just look at how clean and logical this is. You define the problem perfectly. You set crystal clear goals. You brainstorm every possible solution. You weigh all the pros and cons. And then you just pick the clear winner. It's like the textbook definition of making a smart, evidence-based decision. But reality is almost never that neat. Let's be honest. Policymakers have limited time, they're dealing with all sorts of political pressures, and they almost never have all the information. So instead of making these huge rational leaps, they often take small, gradual steps. This is called incrementalism, just making tiny tweaks to what already exists because, well, it's safer and way more predictable.
So what is it that makes the process so messy in the first place? Well, it's the people. All of these different groups are stakeholders. That means they all have a vested interest in what happens. You've got government officials, teachers, parents, students. Everybody has their own priorities and, their own totally valid concerns.
And this is the tightrope that policymakers have to walk. They are constantly trying to balance all these competing interests. So, for example, parents might be pushing for policies that get higher test scores, while teachers are worried about having a manageable workload. And at the same time, the government's focused on national economic goals. Making a policy is this constant negotiation, and usually it involves a lot of trade-offs.
All right, so once the blueprint is finally designed, often through some really tough compromises, it's time for implementation. This is the moment of truth. This is where the plan leaves the safety of the drawing board and enters the chaotic, real world of actual schools and classrooms.
And when it comes to implementation, there have been 2 main ways of thinking about it. The top-down approach is like a general giving orders from headquarters. The directives come from the top, and everyone is expected to follow them to the letter. But then you have the bottom-up approach, which trusts the people on the ground, the teachers and principals, to use their local knowledge and adapt the policy to fit their specific situations.
So which way is better? Well, it turns out the most effective systems today actually do a bit of both. They create this hybrid model. It combines clear national goals from the top with the local flexibility for people on the ground to make it work. It really is the best of both worlds.
Okay, so that's the theory. But how does all this stuff actually play out in the real world? When we start comparing policies in different countries, we can see just how much context really matters. So let's take a quick trip around the ASEAN region and see this in action.
Wow, the difference in approaches is pretty amazing, isn't it? Singapore is all about highly coordinated, long-term planning with a huge focus on teacher quality. Then you have Vietnam, which is transforming its whole system to meet its economic goals. Indonesia is going for decentralization, pushing power out to the local regions, and Malaysia's education blueprint is trying to improve quality, equity, and efficiency all at once. It's so clear there's no single right way to do this.
And this is really the main point. A policy's journey is shaped so much by its unique environment. What works wonders in one country might completely fail in another just because of differences in their government, their economy, or their politics. When it comes to policymaking, context is absolutely everything.
So, after following the life of a policy from that initial blueprint all the way into reality, what are the big lessons here? What should we take away from all this if we want to create better education reforms in the future?
This is it. This is the toolkit for understanding any education policy. It's about aiming for that perfect, rational analysis, while knowing that in reality, you'll probably be making small, incremental changes. It's about thinking through all the stakeholders, figuring out the best way to implement the plan, and of course, learning from what others have already done.
If there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's this. Just understanding this entire journey, from the ideal plan to the messy reality, shaped by all those people and all that context, that understanding is the most important first step. It's what separates policies that are just wishful thinking from policies that create real, positive change for students.
Okay, so we've walked through the essential frameworks. Now it's your turn. Think about your own community. What are the challenges your local schools are facing? What do you think their next big policy journey is going to look like? Because now you have the tools to really analyze and understand it.